Hello, everybody. Welcome into debate night. We got a great episode tonight. Going to talk about everything that went down this past weekend at the LWS Open at Idlewild. Got some fun topics to get into, some fan submissions, and a great cast. So let's introduce everybody. Brodie Smith is here, man of the people. And he's muted.
The muted man of the people. Tech issues to start.
Hunter, you go first.
I'm not going to be an honorary man of the people because I don't have a comment pulled up, but I'm also having tech issues. My camera isn't working, so I'm using the webcam on my decade-old iMac.
That's kind of fun. You kind of look like a character from one of those horror movies where the whole thing takes place on a webcam.
You know, I can't quite decide. Like, I can turn this on, right, in the back, and then it gets a little more light back there, but then I look a little darker.
Yeah, that might be worse.
And then I can turn this light off. It's just, there's a lot of different options, or I can go full dark. I think my first option was probably the best.
I would have to agree.
Well, maybe I go mobile mic. I have never held this mic before. I kind of like it.
Just kind of move around.
I'm on the road. I can be on the. Maybe I can just stand up and start walking around.
If you get fired up
I'll
enough.
be a pacer.
I respect that. It's worked for some people on the show. Brodie, are you back? Are you here?
Am I back?
There we go.
He's back.
Okay. Sorry. I don't even have my internet hooked up. I'm all out of wax right now. I'm on Wi-Fi.
All out of wax. Fresh out of wax.
I just want to give a shout out to potentially the home of Whatnot, Idlewild. I did not realize we probably had 10, 15, 20 people that were either in like me and Kelsey's Whatnot shows or in Foundation's Whatnot shows come up. It was the most out of any place I've ever been to. It was crazy. So the people of Cincinnati love Whatnot.
Dang. That must be the hotbed. All right. Gary is here.
Some Skyline chili on Whatnot.
Gary's here with us today.
What's up, everybody? Ready to rock and roll?
Oh, Brodie ran out of wax again.
No, there goes the wax.
He's all out of wax, fresh out.
I'd like to just mention, if you don't remember, Brodie was clean shaven last week. The speed on that beard,
very
unbelievable.
Impressive.
Yeah, Kelsey did not like that I shaved because she hates it. But I was like, listen, because we're about to go on another cruise here tomorrow. But I was like, listen, it will be perfect by the time we leave.
Have you reached like platinum yet?
New cruise line.
Where
are you
going this time?
This is the largest ship in the world.
Oh, no, is it Norwegian?
Royal Caribbean.
That's right. That's right.
There is actually maybe a chance someone listening to this might be on the ship as well, because there's like 10,000 people.
There's a lot.
Ship.
Wow.
I went on the world's largest back in the day. It was the Oasis of the Sea. Definitely not the largest anymore. I think that will pass a lot.
This would probably dwarf.
That's a little skiff.
Oh, no, those are still pretty big, Hunter.
It was big. It was very big. But that was like a decade ago.
They haven't grown like it hasn't been like doubled or anything like that. Anything crazy. That's still like, I think Oasis of the Sea still, I think, like number 4 in the world.
Oh, okay. So I've been on number 4.
Yeah, it's still a monster.
Pretty legit.
So should be fun.
And then Ross is joining us. He managed to find time in between fighting Dustin on our Discord server all day about the Idlewild course.
Yeah, I guess that shows you what kind of a work day I had today. Yeah, no, excited to be here. But I do have to give a shout out to my guy RJ. Came in second at AM Worlds. Did not throw a single backhand all 5 rounds. All of New Jersey.
Whoa.
Wow,
nasty.
So there's a theme there, I guess, because
friendly course, Trav.
I'll say the lefty won, and then the only forehand in second must have been a lefty friendly course. Love to see it. Okay, well, let's get right into it, and let's start with really the top storyline of this past weekend, and that is Paul McBeth. So Paul McBeth has finally gotten another win after a 2-year drought. Obviously, that PCS title years ago. It's been quite some time now. So we'll just go with a broad statement here. What does this win mean for his legacy? Are there long legacy implications? Is this really not that big of a deal? Where does this win kind of sit for you guys? Brodie, what do you think?
So I think you're going to have people on both sides of the fence not really change their opinion, right? You're going to have the people that are the Paul McBeth fanboys, the ones that think he's the greatest of all time. It doesn't really matter what Paul does the rest of his career. It's only going to add to it for them. And then you're going to have the people on the other side of the fence that are either, more in line with like the King Climo or more in line with maybe some of the new age players like Gannon Burr, AB, those type of players, and saying, well, he's not winning nearly as much as he used to. The field's way better. The talent's way better. And I don't think there's going to be that much he can really do to prove those people wrong or to maybe get them to jump over onto his side. But the people in the middle, the people that are kind of not on one side or the other, I think this is a massive win for him. Not only is he, I believe, the first ever to win twice at this course. Very, very difficult course to win at to begin with. He's the first one to do it twice. He also took down the number one player in the world, coming off of 3 wins in a row, Gannon Burr, in thrilling fashion. We saw some crazy shots that final round, not just from Gannon, but also from Paul. So I think this is a big win, especially coming off of the fact that he hasn't won in so long. So I think those people like that are in the middle, seeing him win now against Gannon, I think that will shift it a little bit more to his side.
Yeah, no doubt anybody that was going to beat Gannon on this kind of hot streak where he's playing was going to be impressive. Hunter, what are your thoughts?
I think this is a huge win for Paul and for Paul's career, but I don't necessarily think it's a huge win for his legacy, mainly because I think that his legacy is cemented at this point. Really, I think the only wins left for his legacy are majors, because that's the one thing he has left, is still chasing to top Ken Climo in the all-time majors. So I think when we're looking at legacy, I'm thinking a decade, 2 decades removed from right now. Right. And we're looking back on the legacy Paul McBeth left. And I don't think one Elite Series win towards the, latter stage of his career has any effect on his legacy. What I do think it has an effect on is his current reputation, because I think right now it proved a lot to us, the disc golf fans of right now, because we know we're watching it, right? Years from now, they're going to argue this is the beginning of Gannon Burr's career. He's still on the up and up. We're watching that Gannon Burr is the most talented disc golfer we've ever seen. Right. We're watching that he is in what probably won't end up being his prime, but it's going to be hard for him to perform at a level like this consistently for a long time. And we're watching him play solid all weekend long, and Paul McBeth go toe to toe with him and not crumble, do the opposite, actually perform very clutch shots over and over, and be able to come out on top, go blow for blow with Gannon down the stretch and have a win. So I think it's very big for his current reputation, but I don't think it necessarily affects his legacy, only because his legacy is so big and so grand that I think major's the only thing that can have an effect on that.
Okay. Yeah, that's reasonable. Gary, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think we have to think about this in 2 different ways, similar to what's been said, is that what does this singular win do for the body of work that he's already given us? And the answer there is nothing. It does nothing for that, because Paul already has all of his major accolades, his era of dominance, and he has the historic contract, the foundation he's created, and this win adds nothing to any of those things. If he retired right now, which is the thing we always have to talk about, we wouldn't talk about this win. This would be like, the diehards would talk about it, but if he retired right now, this would be like the stretch of great games that Jordan had when he went to the Wizards. Great moment for the sport, awesome, but we don't talk about the Wizards when we reference Jordan's legacy, and this was a great win. I'm not disputing that at all, but for improving his legacy, this win does not improve his legacy anymore than it does. Now, what it can do for his legacy is that I think a lot can be said about the confidence that you build when you go 1v1 with Gannon Burr and you take down the win. And a lot of things looked really good in this event for Paul. We haven't seen very consistently, and that his forehand was looking better than I think I've seen it in a long time. His clutch putting didn't fail him down the stretch, and he dealt with the mental stress and mistakes that he made and Gannon's success live on the course extremely well. So I think this could be the win that gets him fired up, and that can be a great thing for his legacy, not the win itself. Before Idlewild, I probably had Paul ruled out of the USDGC conversation, but after Idlewild, I have to include him in that conversation now.
Yeah, no doubt this could rev him up for maybe another chapter that would count towards his legacy. Ross, is that what you're kind of thinking?
Yeah, I don't think this has anything. I don't think this win really impacts his legacy, as others have said. But what I do think it could have an impact on is the future. Golf, disc golf is golf. It's such a mental game. The actual physical mechanics, Paul is, if anything, better now than he was in his prime. But what will this do for Paul's mental game going forward? He has never really competed against Gannon Burr like this. They mentioned this on coverage. He's never been going 1v1 against Gannon. I don't know how accurate that is. This is debate night, not fact check night. But if that's true, taking him on and beating him has to give him some confidence going forward. Like, I can beat these kids. I can beat the young guns. Isaac, AB, these people who have really been dominating the last couple of years. And will this become a new era of Paul, in contention every week, winning Pro Tours, just becoming more consistent? I think it's also important to just think about like the last 2 years of Paul's life. He did get injured. We have no idea. I don't know what that injury was like in terms of how that affected both him physically and mentally. He has a kid now. Like how much that is probably distracting him from practicing. Gannon can be out doing 500 putts a day while Paul's worried about changing diapers and worrying about his kid and other stuff. So, we don't really know what the future holds for Paul, but I hope that this is something we actually look back on and think that is the moment of flip switch. This is now the last phase of his career, similar to Tom Brady going to the Bucs, where that really rejuvenated his career and he went on to win another Super Bowl. Is this going to be the moment where, like, you know what? Now Paul's back. Maybe he is actually going to win another major or two, or just be more consistent on the Pro Tours.
Yeah, well, and it's funny enough. Go ahead.
Okay. We're throwing out a couple comparisons there with Ross and Gary, with Tom Brady and with Michael Jordan. Both those guys, there was never really a discussion around them of them not being good anymore or them being in a class to where they can't compete anymore. Jordan still was phenomenal playing on the Wizards. As far as if you look at the league goes, the Wizards were never in contention to win. Tom Brady going down the Bucs, everyone was thinking, oh my gosh, now this is a Super Bowl contender team. The story around Paul the last couple years has been he can't win anymore with these players around him that are better than him. And I think like that's the story. Is like he's been in many moments especially this last year, of where he has the ability to win and he's just not been able to do it. And I think getting it done, I think it's closer to like Tiger Woods in a sense, of where at a certain point in Tiger's career, people kind of counted him out. And so like later in his career, when he was able to go out and still win at Eastlake way back in the day, and people were freaking out, like, I think that's why people are freaking out now too, is because there was this cloud around him of he just can't win anymore. He can't figure it out. These guys are too good around him that if he slips at all, he just can't get it done. And now he finally was able to do it against Gannon. Yeah, is this going to go down as like the top 10 win of his career when you're looking back at it? No. But when you look at his Wikipedia page and you look and see let's just say he retires in a couple years or whatever, and he doesn't win anymore. He doesn't have this win. It's kind of weird. Like you get a point of where it's like, oh, look, it wasn't like he just fell off a cliff and something happened. He wasn't able to bounce back. Yeah. No, he had a bunch of top 10s and a bunch of top 5s. Yeah. He has never figured out how to win again. Like to me, that's where I think this knocks that off. And I think it's a big win.
It's good to have that win to bookmark your career. I think that's where these wins kind of come into play. It's like you can always check it off as like, okay, in the year, if you're looking back 10 years from now, you can say in the year 2025, Paul McBeth was still able to win tournaments.
Against the number one player in the world.
Right, exactly. And I think too, we've seen, we saw this dip in productivity from him, with whatever, becoming a dad, the injury, whatever what might be. But really, we have seen an upwards trajectory. I think a consistently upwards trajectory, to the point where that trajectory has now landed him as a winner. And how many guys have won this year on tour? Not that many. There are other really good players that you would call like top talents that have not won tournaments yet this year. So I think, what we could be looking at is, okay, he's now either is still moving upwards in trajectory, or at least he's gotten to a place where why can't he stay here for 3-4 more years and win a tournament each year?
Yeah, the biggest thing, and Ross kind of mentioned this a little bit, it was never a talent thing. It was never he's not good enough to win.
No.
If you watch the pressure of, and I'm very curious, we're going to have him on the podcast tonight. If you're watching this after, go watch the Tour Life one. Shout out.
I've seen it.
I'm very curious to hear what he says about the pressure of coming into a tournament and everyone kind of murmuring, can he win again? Can this guy win?
Yeah.
Is he actually really that good? Versus the pressure he used to have of coming into a tournament and everyone being like, oh, Paul's going to win this one. Because it was never this guy can't play good enough to win. We were seeing him crumble under the pressure.
For sure.
He was getting so close, and he was just making big mistakes.
And a lot of the players that have gotten phased out there's because there was holes in their game. A lot of them being not forehand guys.
Yep. Can't throw
that
far
was,
enough.
Right, can't throw far enough. That was never the case with Paul. Obviously he's not a distance or forehand specialist, but he's always had the tools. And so, yeah, that was never the question. So I think it'll be interesting to monitor. And like Gary said, I mean, now with USGC just a few events away, I mean, he enters that conversation, and all of a sudden you can turn this season into a really, really good season.
I do think I'm surprised Brodie hasn't gloated on this yet, because this Idlewild was probably the best week for the age doesn't matter on the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
You got Owen Scoggins and Paul winning in the same weekend.
Well, I mean, we're about to talk about it, but Idlewild's a course that literally anyone can win on, which makes it probably even harder to win it. Hence why this, I think, is a big win for Paul.
Well, let's go into it then. So yeah, Idlewild, topic of conversation. I think this course has really suddenly over the last few years moved from just kind of understood staple on tour, pretty well liked, to a lot more conversation surrounded. I think because it's kind of was an early Pro Tour venue, but now so many of the Pro Tour courses look much different than Idlewild. So what I want to know is Idlewild too fluky of a course to be on tour? Where do you draw the line when you're dealing with these tight wooded courses? Is there any element of luck that's okay? Where is the line with these situations? Are there courses that are comparable to this? What are your thoughts, Hunter?
My opinion on this has went back and forth this year alone, because Idlewild has always been one I've enjoyed watching, right? And then as I played it years and years ago, I remember thinking I can fathom scoring out here, which as the Pro Tours evolved, there's courses I can't fathom scoring at, right? Like the 16 under WR Jackson, Northwood Black, really just pick a Pro Tour course modern day. I can't fathom scoring at it. But I actually really liked how it filmed. Then we went out and played it this year. I filmed it, but I got to watch Trevor and Connor play it, and I saw it in person, and my opinion got cemented in: the lines are too tight, this is too gimmicky, these holes don't make enough sense, and it's too short for the Pro Tour. And I was kind of stuck there. And then I watched it and really freaking enjoyed the tournament I watched this weekend again. To where I'm kind of at is, I think that if this course was brand new to the tour, I don't think I would like it. I would say this doesn't feel right. This almost feels like a step back. I think the lines are too tight. I think there's some trees that need to come out, yada, yada, yada. But I think that as long as the whole tour is not like this, I'm okay with Idlewild being almost an homage to the old disc golf, right? Where it is the tight wood. Yes, there's flukiness to a certain extent, but if you pure the line, you're fine. It's just the lines are very, very tight. I do think that in order for it to stay around, I think the felt greens have to go. I think that their time has come and gone. They just don't look good anymore. I think that the ropes might have to get a little tighter. And I like some of the new hole designs. I think the course has a good balance. I just think in the middle, I'd like some trees to go. But I'm okay with it because it's been around since the start of the Pro Tour.
Okay. So Gary, are you also standing with Idlewild?
Yeah, is this fluky? It comes out as the 5th or 6th easiest course on tour for the MPO, one of the easier ones for the FPO. 41 rounds this weekend were 9 under or better, and only 2 holes averaged over par, and even then combined, it was a fifth of a stroke. I think of the 18 holes, 7 of them aren't really truly wooded, in my opinion. Of the wooded holes there are, a few of them come into my mind as touchy. I'm thinking about holes 7 and 10, which they fixed hole 10 for the FPO this year, making it go from the second hardest to the second easiest hole. They actually corrected it by a whole stroke, kind of crazy. But the word I'm using here for Idlewild isn't fluky. It's specific. On pretty much every hole, I think there is a defined line or landing zone. Some holes have multiple lines, but there are landing zones that are well defined. And when you try to get overly aggressive and don't fully commit on your shot, you're going to get bad kicks. And there's a reason why players with more touch tend to perform well on this track. And I think when we talk about luck in general, it goes to a weird place for me when it comes to course design. You could be in a wide open field and have a gust of wind destroy your drive. Is that fluky because you couldn't see that gust of wind? No, just bad luck. Players want to feel better about bad kicks and bad shots. So I think we label things fluky. And when trees exist, the possibility for luck just goes up. So I think you have to take the bad for the good and move on from it. And Idlewild to me represents a unique tour stop, and it's got to stay. But I agree, we've got to see the artificial greens resurface and maybe tighten the OB on 16 to make 16 score a little bit harder.
Yeah. How long has that felt been down? Yes.
I forgot to mention this. I just saw when he said 16, 17's got to go. Sorry, Ross.
Ross, what are your thoughts on Idlewild and your defense for 17 maybe?
Yeah, so I think Idlewild's perfect. Obviously, I think there's changes that could be made here and there. Gary, I was going to mention 16. Bring that OB in a little more. So that way, if you hit the landing zone, you have the option for the eagle, but maybe it brings bogey more into play. I think that would make that hole super interesting where you could have a 2-3 stroke swing coming down the stretch. But I think the tour, what it has done recently, has done a good job to kind of highlight different regions of the country. We start in Florida, you have like the Spanish moss, and that's just what Florida looks like. And then the course kind of represents that. This new stop in New Orleans, like, I don't know what the alligator situation is like, but I really hope people don't get nasty kicks. We go to the out west in the Pacific Northwest, the big old trees at up in Portland. You know, the Midwest, we get the park style courses, maybe a bit more open. And then we're in the East Coast. We have Maple Hill, we have Brewster Ridge, we have Idlewild. That is what the Northeast and East Coast disc golf is, and the courses should represent that. I think when, you know, we've had our time of the big bomber courses, the big open courses, now we're kind of closing in on the roots of disc golf in a lot of ways, which is throwing frisbees in the woods. I definitely think there's ways in which it can be tweaked in certain ways, make it more aesthetically pleasing, maybe make it a little more challenging, but disc golf is fluky. There was multiple times during Worlds at the Monster where I was thinking of Brodie being like, I wish there was more Mandos at the Monster because Gannon keeps yanking it through the woods and getting away with it. It was making me so mad. And that's just disc golf. So, you know, I think Idlewild's here to stay. And my defensive hole 17 really quickly, it's a decision that has to be made by the player. The player has to make a decision on whether to go for the green or dump out to the right. Not a lot of holes actually force decision making, and it makes putting super important because if you go for the safer shot, you got to make a big putt. Say whatever else you want about the hole, but it's actually forcing players to think in a high pressure situation.
The defense has been laid. I like your point. They actually, when you think about it, they have done a really cool job of like picking courses that do have like accentuate the geography of the areas. I think the New Orleans stop next year, if you look at the pictures of that course, I mean, it really fits the bill there. So yeah, that is a cool thing they've done. And that certainly is a reason to get behind the East Coast courses for what they are. Brodie, what do you think about Idlewild?
I like this question a lot because to some of the panelists' points, they were talking about fluky and what is fluky and everything. And I try to write down what I think the definition of fluky is when it comes to disc golf. And I think it's tight gaps down the fairway. So I'm not saying you've got a gap 60 feet off the tee that you have to hit. I'm talking about gaps that are tight, less than, let's say 30, 20 feet, that are considerably down the fairway, 300 feet down the fairway. I don't think the majority of players are good enough right now, and maybe they never will be, to consistently be hitting those gaps down the fairway. So you're going to have some people throw a shot that's really good for 250, 300 feet. And then when it gets to that 350 mark, some people are going to land in the fairway. Some people are going to hit a tree and kick off into no man's land. Blind trees in the fairway. There's a couple holes where we're throwing around and we can see the initial gap, but then the gap goes behind and now it's completely blind. And so it's a feel thing. And there's some trees that are in the middle of the fairway, and whether you hit that tree or not, again, something we're not really aiming for. And then the last thing is gaps to the basket that are off the fairway. So being able to get to the basket by not actually throwing down the fairway, I think all those things lead into a course that's fluky. And I went through the entire course, and these are the fluky shots on the course. You let me know if you disagree in the comments. Drive on number 2, drive on number 3, approach on number 4, drive on number 6, drive on number 7, approach on number 7, drive on 8, approach on 8, drive on 9, drive on 10, drive on 11, drive on 12, drive on 13, approach on 13, drive on 14, approach on 14, drive on 15, drive on 17, drive on 18. Now,
Dang.
To Hunter's point, I think this course deserves to be on tour because there is no other tournament like it. One of the things that I really was sad about is when we went to Northwood, they've cleaned out Northwood a lot, whether that's the new tee pads and having having some trees taken out and also opening up some spots. I didn't really get to and trust me, I didn't hit a lot of fairways at Northwood. I didn't get to scramble that much. Idlewild makes you scramble. We saw it a lot from Gannon. We saw it a lot from Paul. They're having to throw shots that we don't get to see that often. That's a skill in disc golf that's kind of gone away, especially with a lot of OB. You just bring your disc back to the middle of the fairway, throw the shot, get a stroke penalty. So I love that about that. And then the last thing I'll say about it, if you're throwing great, kind of this to kind of Hunter's point a little bit. If you're throwing great at Idlewild, you will score great. If you're throwing okay with a few bad misses, you will score either great or okay. If you're throwing okay with a handful of bad misses, you will score okay or eh. And if you're throwing bad, you will score bad at Idlewild. So there still is those gaps, but the fact that there are so many shots that you hit a tree, you lose 2 strokes. You don't hit a tree, you gain 2 strokes. That's where I think the flukiness of Idlewild comes. But I also think it deserves to be on tour, and it's fun to play, and all the players know what they're signed up for when they go into it, and they just have to deal with it.
Very true. Very true.
I do
well,
want to add, luck wise, when I was trying to think through this in disc golf, where I feel like sometimes luck is almost more amplified. And I think that why woods courses can be this way is because there are times where it is better to completely miss the fairway than to hit the fairway. Not to say you do it on purpose. Sometimes you can do it on purpose, but a lot of times it's like you can end up better because like the shot requires a like flex shot or something, right? And it's like, okay, if you accidentally don't flex it enough, the disc is going to go farther. And if it somehow misses everything, you might end up in a better spot than anyone who throws a perfect shot can. And I think that is a problem that like woods disc golf, I don't think you can fix it necessarily, because fixing it eliminates scrambling, because that means you have to put Mandos, to Ross's point. And then when you're putting Mandos in like certain places, it's like, well, now if I'm off the fairway, I have to get back to the fairway to make a Mando, so I can't scramble. But like, you know, if you're a Foundation fan, you might know hole, I think, what is it, Trev? 8 at East Campus, the par 5, where like I had decided somewhat recently that my best bet is just to chuck it in the middle of the fairway, and then I just throw as hard as I can at the woods. Because it's like sometimes I can go from the middle of the fairway to an eagle look that you can't get going the fairway. And I think that's where, like, on the Pro Tour, that level of luck where that's possible, I think should be eliminated as much as possible. But I'm okay with it here and there, like Idlewild, because I think there are moments at Idlewild where it's like someone can throw. It's almost better to throw a really bad shot sometimes than just an okay shot, because if you're just barely off, you're gonna get a terrible kick, and if you completely yank it, you might all of a sudden get through everything, hide your back, and it's like, how the heck did they get over there? That's crazy.
Hole 13, the Y tree hole, which used to be a double Mando, which I actually liked it being a double Mando more than them taking it away, because Gannon, you know, throws a shot that's just a little off, gets a terrible kick. And we've seen many people shank that shot, don't even go close to the Y, and end up in a great spot. So that's why that's one of the things I added, is if there are gaps that are off the fairway or off the intended line that still allow you to get to the basket or get to the fairway, that is where flukiness adds in. And, you know, the dream course for me is either a bunch of Mandos or a bunch of boards, because that I think would be a very, very interesting of where if you throw a bad shot, guess what? It's bad. You no bad shot ever is good, because it's just going to slam into a board because you missed the gap you were intended for. And it would be interesting to play one tournament that way, where you can't get lucky. And I think that's the thing with disc golf over other sports. There is luck in every sport. Golf, you'll never hear a golfer tell you that they won a tournament without not having a little bit of luck. But I think the thing is they can like pinpoint a couple shots in the 100 and, well, no, let's see. They normally do what? They normally do like 240 or something like that, 250 shots. They can
probably shot 70. I mean, it would be 280, but
yeah, 280. So they could probably pinpoint the couple times that, oh yeah, that was lucky. That was lucky. In disc golf, we're throwing way less shots. I mean, I think Paul probably threw like 180. So he probably threw, and you know, a lot of those are obviously putts. I bet Paul could probably have more than 10 times the amount of times where he's like, got a good kick, missed the gap, but still was able to get up there. I mean, I think in the final round, there was probably 4 or 5 that I saw where he got a good break. you
Yeah,
know,
well,
and so
in
that's
disc
where
golf,
it's like it's elevated. There's
when
so
you're in
many.
the woods, luck comes into basically every shot because at any point you could roll, your disc could stand up and roll at any point. So like you could hit a root. Like there are things. There's not grassy fairways that if you hit them, the only thing that could happen bad is that you land in a divot. Like,
it was funny because a lot of people say that Gannon is the luckiest player on tour, but we also hear a lot about how McBeth gets world champ love, 6-time love. So
oh my gosh,
it was a matter of who was going to come out with the who had the luckiest luck.
You know, they probably couldn't have Ian on that tournament because
he wouldn't know what to do.
He wouldn't know what to do with himself.
Yeah, Goggins. She's flashing the ring.
The rings are being flashed on every shot.
Isaac
Oh
Roberts,
my gosh. Well, anyways, let's move on to FPO here. Talk about Owen Scoggins. So Owen Scoggins,
Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift get engaged. I mean, another ring gets thrown in his brain. It would have been
a rings
rough
right now.
Terrible. But hey, at least if Ian was there, we would have all not known whether it was live or not. So thank you for Nate for clarifying.
Thank you for clarifying that. Nate Perkins line of the week. So let's talk about Nate Perkins after Gannon's throw in dropped the line. And guys, I have to remind you that we didn't know that was going to happen. This is live.
While we're all watching it live.
We're all watching it live, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Anywho, there's a lot of Jomez viewers out there. He's just letting you know it wasn't fake. Anyways, Owen Scoggins. So Owen Scoggins is coming on strong here at the end of the season. I want to know, has she positioned herself for a legitimate shot at Player of the Year? Obviously, not even in the conversation, but now grabbing some wins, including a world title, with some favorable events left on the schedule. Does she have a shot? What needs to happen for this to be realistic? Or is it just only going to be a talking point while the European players are not in the field that will soon be brushed away? Gary.
Right now, there are 6 players in the conversation for FPO Player of the Year. You've got the 4 major winners with Silva, Owen, Missy, and Evelina. You have Kristen, who has 3 wins and the best average finish of 2.2. And you also have Holland with 4 wins and an average finish of 5.3. Of that group, to me, Silva is the clear favorite with 4 wins, one of them being a major, and the best average major finish at 4.8, being the only one under 5 of that group. The only way that Owen catches Silva in my mind is with 2 more wins. And I know that we value the World Championships higher than we value the festival. But I think that Silva's strength of field to beat is definitely higher than Owen's, because if you look at the 2 majors, they're kind of a wash because they each beat the other 5 candidates on the table. But at Idlewild, Owen beat Missy and Holland, and that's kind of it. Whereas Silva beat all of them but Evelina at Preserve. She also beat Kristen at Ale. So to me, that's a better resume here for Player of the Year. But looking at the upcoming events, I mean, Owen could win any of them. She's won D-Glow before. She has multiple podium finishes at MVP in the Green Mountain Championship. And I think the one that's best for her is if she wins Green Mountain, that's where it's most likely that all the other 5 candidates are going to be. That could go a long way, and I would say complicate the Silva argument if she wins Green Mountain. But if Silva has success anywhere here, it's probably going to lock it up for Silva. So she's going to need to be really successful. She's going to need Silva to not be as successful as she is. And I think looking at the 6 candidates across the board, I would give Owen right now a 10% chance of winning Player of the Year.
10%. Okay. I like throwing the number on it there. Ross, what do you think about Owen's chances?
I'm so happy for Owen that she won the World Championship, championships, and that she won this last weekend. But I do not like her chances of becoming the FPO Player of the Year. Silva and to a lesser extent Holland. I think her and Holland are probably neck and neck in terms of my opinion of where they are in this awards race. But I think Silva and Holland both have a leg up on the courses that are coming up, with D-Glow being, I mean, although Owen did win D-Glow in the past, so she is a proven winner there. She could win again. Still like other players' chances like Evelina and Holland better there. Silva was 1 tee shot away at Green Mountain from being the champion there. I really like her odds there. And then Maple Hill and Throw Pink both require a bit of distance, which I'm not sure Owen has the ability to compete there. So, great story. So happy that she is a twice reigning world champion in 2 different divisions. However you want to say that this year, that is probably something that will never happen again in the sport. But yeah, great year. Not too sure I like her chances going forward. I do like Silva's chances a lot going forward. Excited to see kind of where she picks up after not being over here. For all the Europeans being home for a while and traveling back, curious how they adjust in these events going forward. But yeah, kind of like Silva's chances the best.
Yeah, she's certainly in the driver's seat. And yeah, it's a good reminder. GMC last year, she was really in the driver's seat to win that tournament and kind of threw it away there at the end. Brodie, do you think she has any kind of shot here?
All right, this is quite honest. I'm not making a bid or anything like this. I honestly forgot that she won that major. It's not a bit. It is legit forgot that she had won that major. And I think do we have confirmation on how this player of the year
Voting.
which one are we talking about?
50% media vote, 50% fan vote.
This is PDGA?
No, player. 50% player, 50% media. No, this would be Pro Tour.
This is Pro Tour. Okay, we don't worry about the PGA. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is my thought is I think we're more in a sport of like, what have you done for me lately type of thing. And it's like, if you have a great beginning of the season, if two people have identical seasons, but one's really good at the beginning and kind of falls off at the end, and one starts slow and finishes strong, I think everyone or most people are always going to side with the person that finished. It's just the recency bias that a lot of us have. And so when I'm looking at this, yeah, Silva, owns one twice back to back. Like it's straight to the top of the mind here. I think if she wins like another GMC or an MVP or something and does well at these others, I think she has an honest chance of winning the thing. Also, I don't know if personality goes into it a little bit. There's a lot of people that love Own. So I could totally see a couple people being, I mean, we are talking about Pro Tour players voting for Pro Tour players. They do weird clicky stuff all the time. So I could totally see them voting for someone that might not be deserved for the award. And I think the other thing is two of her bigger competitors here, Holland Hanley and Kristen Lott, have both kind of fallen. Well, Kristen's not playing for 5 events. And Holland's last 3 events, she went 11th, 29th, and 8th. So she's kind of fallen off a little bit. So I think right now she's definitely, I would say she's definitely better than 10%. I'd put her at closer to like 60.
60?
I think the only way, because I like her at D-Glow. I like her at Brewster. I like her at Maple Hill. I think she probably wins 1, maybe 2 more events the way she's playing right now. These are own horses.
It isn't unthinkable at all. She is playing good golf. And I totally agree in the recency bias, and with the voting, you do have to remember, not everybody's just going to sit down. Most people are not going to sit down and analyze things. No. They're gonna just kind of go with their gut.
Own or Silva. Who do you think most people are going to be voting for?
So you never know. I mean, that could be a huge, probably was a huge part of how Missy won.
If it ended right now, I think Own would win it.
Well, maybe right now, but we'll get to the rebuttal after Hunter tries to answer. So,
all right, Hunter, go for it.
Well, I'm glad I get to go last here because I think that we have a lot of logic being thrown around, right? We have Gary and Ross coming at it from a how it should work standpoint,
all emotions,
right? And then you have Brodie being the disc golfer, being the one that understands how disc golf works.
Thank you.
In a weird turn of events, right? And I think that what Gary and Ross are forgetting is last year's Player of the Year isn't the one that's hoisting the Player of the Year trophy. Kristen Lott earned the title last year, but for some reason, it gets into a little popularity contest, right? So here's the deal, is when we're looking at this, things that shouldn't matter. Owen Scott 2 world titles this season. FPO Player of the Year. FP40 shouldn't matter, Hunter. You got to get your logical brain plugged off, Gary. Out the window.
Plug it off.
People are voting. You have the people voting, right? You have media. You have the Charlie Eisenhower from the Upshot voting. No offense to Charlie, but I'm saying you have those people voting, right? You have people who are like, I don't like Holland for whatever reason, voting. You have people like Silva. Silva didn't even play certain events. She didn't play my favorite event. Voting.
Doesn't have a forehand.
Kristen's already lost because Kristen's missing from this much, and people didn't like her to give it to her last year when she should have won. Right? So Kristen, 0% chance. So I think if Holland and Silva don't perform, don't get multiple wins, right? If Holland stays slipping and Silva doesn't come back, Owen Scoggins is your Player of the Year. I hate to break it to you people. She might have a Pro Tour win and a Worlds win, and people are gonna be like, well, no one's ever won FP40 and FPO Worlds. Yeah. It's FPO World Player of the Year. It's not FP40, but it's 2 votes. It's all
kind of like how
and with it all voting, throw pink shouldn't matter for Pro Tour Player of the Year. No points. It's gonna matter. It's gonna matter a lot. And Holland Hanley blows up all of a sudden. Owen Scoggins hoisting player of the year. I can see it happen. I'm
Can't
with
vote for
Brodie.
someone that can't make a 10-footer.
I'm with Brodie. I
60%.
think we're at like 50% chance Owen gets it where we currently sit. Is it where it
Wow.
should be?
That's-
No, but I'm with
That's
Brodie.
a
on it.
lot. It's a lot of disrespect on thinking Silva's not going to perform in these next several events. When she ends up winning,
But
you
here's
know,
the deal.
another
Here's the
event to
deal,
finish the
Gary.
season.
Will it matter? Will it matter? It's all up to voting.
Yep. When we see her
Logic's gone.
jumping in the lake at MVP,
She's not jumping.
Gary, what
the
is
lake.
your
Stop
percent?
that.
Who's
What
to
is your
say-
percent, Gary, for Owen to win?
Who's to say that someone like I'm not going to call out a player because I don't want to make beef that's not there. But who's to say that there's a player
Wow,
that was
no
like,
guts.
I'm the Massachusetts local. I'm supposed to be jumping in that lake. I don't like Silva. She's not getting my vote.
Mm.
You have enough of them, all of a sudden she's not player of the
Think
year.
about that, and you got to think about this, Gary. If I get a vote again, if they somehow let me vote again, I might take a bribe. Think about that. And I
Yep.
just lost my vote.
This is your host, people. This is your host.
It is
Um,
funny that I said Charlie when Charlie's probably going to do more analytical research than us on who's player of the year.
dude,
He's probably
no.
I called out the complete wrong host. I should have
That's-
said
Gary,
just
what's
said,
your
like,
percentage chance though?
It's only because I don't get a vote. That
I want a
he's the one with
percent.
the
I
most
want a percent.
analytical-
We'll get you a vote. I want a percent
For what?
for Owen to win player of the year. What's your
For
percent?
Owen?
Yeah.
I was the I was
said
I was
10.
the one who started that trend
you
by
said
being
10.
the first one to say 10%.
Yeah, you need to-
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was you or
10%.
Ross. So
Do
10%.
we know that there's 5 more events? 5 events ago, we weren't talking about Owen. Like
What
5
have you done
events
for me
from
lately,
now,
though?
like I think
It's
it ended right
recency
now.
bias, brother. That's what
Yeah, so
sports
it's
are.
gonna
We
it's like the
feed on the
NFL
recency
MVP.
bias.
Whoever's the
This will be a
quarterback-
great episode to come back to when this is all said and done.
Yes.
One way
But
or
whoever's
another.
the quarterback on the last handful of primetime games is like almost locked into an MVP. So it's how it's been the
It's
last couple.
literally true. That's
If
literally
Missy,
so
if
true.
Missy
Who
wins
wins
out, Missy will
MVP,
win it.
Throw Pink and the Tour Championship. That is all that's going to matter. If Holland wins 1 or 2 of those, lock it in. If Silva does, if Evelina
They should
does,
do the vote before the Tour Championship, honestly. Anywho. All right. Final topic. Owen Scoggins, put that in the sports book. Player of the year, 20-1.
Great question.
Yeah, why don't they do actually player of the year before the playoffs? And then have like an MVP
Well,
for
it's
the
not a
playoffs.
regular season award, I guess. I guess it's meant to just be the entire culmination of the
rules are
season.
made
Yeah,
up and
but
the
wouldn't
points
that
don't
just be
matter,
the
though.
person that? But to my point, should just be the person that had the most points.
because
you
the
already
playoffs
have-
are meaningless.
You already have something like that. You already have the
Yeah.
person that
Well, they
played
just
the best overall.
I guess they just wouldn't want player of the year to go to somebody who, because they used to do 50% of the decision making went to points, but they don't want to punish people for missing events. Like if Kristen won 8 tournaments, but didn't play the whole rest of the season, and somebody else did, but only won 3 times, you don't want to give player of the year to somebody who didn't win the 8 tournaments, but they might have less points. That might be too extreme for the math to work out. We get what I'm saying. You could
Yeah.
have the points lead, but not have the best season.
Brodie, it's because
Yeah.
we're playing whose award is it anyway, and the points the rules are made up and the points don't
Yeah,
matter.
I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, it's like every MVP award. It's like it is
Well,
what
it's like
it is, you
the
know.
Calvin Isaac argument.
And nobody, literally, we care for like 1 week,
Yeah.
and then like who remembers who won Player of the Year 3
We
years
really
ago?
didn't
And
care. Think about it.
yeah, I mean, it's just like something to kind of argue about. We
I
like
only
that.
remember because Missy Gannon called me
Right,
out
like,
during a
that's the-
press conference, and I'm still hurt.
I remember whenever it's controversial, you remember. I remember the Isaac Calvin one and whatever.
It's fun. It's fun to talk about.
It's a
for
very
sure.
good
Yeah.
talking point.
Yeah, it's a talking point. It's same with MVP. I mean, MVPs are a little different, but anyways. All right. Last topic here for our finals. Fans submitted. This one actually came from Shay Stevens on our Heiser Club mailbag. Shout out to Shay.
This is a great question.
I think
No,
this is
it's
a
not.
fascinating
No,
question.
it is not.
I'm sad to be third on it because I feel like there's
I
only
was
one way to
scratching
think
my
about
head
it.
a little bit.
I was
on
just
this
saying,
one.
I'm
this-
sad to be fourth.
Very few
Jeez.
times do I get a question where I'm like, I've never thought about this before,
Same.
and I was like, oh my gosh,
This had
is
never
actually a
crossed
great
my
question.
brain, and I
It's
was
because
like,
no brain cell should be dedicated to
it
this
was one of
question.
those like where I was like,
Oh,
oh well,
Gary's
of course, and then I was
passionate.
like, wait, what? Okay, well, let's hear then. Let's see.
Well,
So
good
here's
news
the
is he's
question.
fourth, so we'll take all the breath out of it.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on finishing positions when there is a playoff? At Krokol, Mari Vilman eliminated himself in the first playoff, and Jakub Semerad was eliminated in the 5th, but both were awarded second place and evenly split the purses for second and third. Do you think this is how it should be done, or should Mari have taken solo third and Jakub solo second? So basically what kind of value do you place on extra time there? I think this is an interesting question because I'm just not really sure. Like, I don't even know where Gary's about to land, even though he's certain. I honestly don't know which one.
I hate this question.
Ross, what do you think?
Fantastic question. I saw this and I smiled ear to ear because I was a TD this weekend. We had 2 playoffs, two different divisions, and I thought, well, what would I do? What would I actually have to do in the situation if it was 3? And I think they do the right thing. I think it should be second and third are evenly split. And the reason why is because we don't have playoffs for 4th, figuring out who gets 5th, or 2/3 and who gets, if there's 2 people coming 3rd, figuring out who's 2nd, who's 3rd. People tie, they tie. The decision is to figure out who from in this instance, the 3 people who finished at the same, who is going to win amongst them. The other 2 are in 2nd. You don't get rewarded for playing holes that the rest of the field did not have an opportunity to play. What if you take a triple bogey on that hole? Now all of a sudden, are you in 4th because you took that number? I think they do it the right way. This is a great question. When I first read it, I was like, wow, this is like thousands of dollars. In the future, it could be tens of thousands of dollars that, how this rule is written. And I originally thought that, no, it should be split. If you played better for longer, you deserve that 2nd place. But the rest of the field isn't having that same opportunity. And we don't do that for other positions down the leaderboard. So I don't think it would make any sense to do it just for make a special exception for 2nd.
Fair enough. The dog agrees. What the heck? What just happened?
That's crazy.
It just dog stepped. That was crazy. That was so funny.
I don't even know if Ross got to hear the
somebody remixed that.
Dog.exe went crazy there.
Anyways, that was a very rational. I think that was a very rational argument there from Ross. Brodie, what are your thoughts? Do you agree?
So I'll first start off by saying, like, I actually, if the PDGA came out and they decided to change how they were going to do this, or the Disc Golf Pro Tour, whoever, we don't even know really who's wearing the pants anymore in this relationship, but whoever decides to change it, like, I wouldn't care one way or the other, but I do think it is a fascinating thing to think about. I would say something that would also be like, I'll just throw an option out there because I don't think one way is necessarily better than the other. I think Ross's point makes a lot of sense of where it's like, hey, you all finished tied for 1st. We're basically at this point just seeing who wins the tournament because we have to have a winner. Everyone else that doesn't win, they're going to stay tied for 2nd no matter how it plays out. But I would also throw this option out there. If the players all agree to it, I think it could make it a little bit more interesting if they're like, hey, we want to do, 3rd place gets less, 2nd place gets whatever, and 1st place gets more. Heck, we want to do winner gets all. I mean, if they want to figure out something amongst them that how they want to split up the cash, I think that could make it a little bit more interesting at the end. But again, I think at the end of the day, I think you could do anything. It wouldn't really matter that much. The idea of like taking a triple bogey and dropping out of 2nd into 4th, no, absolutely not. That's crazy. But as long as everyone's okay with it, that's in the playoff, I think that's all that matters. Heck, the rules actually don't even really matter. You can just pick up everyone's disc and it's not a big thing. So, I mean, who really cares what happens?
We do have precedent that playoffs have a different set of rules.
Correct.
So that is a very
different
good
payout
point.
System too, maybe.
Yeah, Hunter, what are your thoughts on this?
To Brodie's point, I think the most common thing that happens in playoffs is like after a hole or 2, the people just agree, hey, split the cash. We're just playing for the title. Because I've had that happen multiple times where I've seen, not to me, I haven't been in those playoffs, but running tournaments or my friends in a playoff, and I hear them like, hey, just agree, we split the cash and we're just playing for the title. And then sure enough, the next hole, someone's going to lose because all of a sudden you don't care. So what I think here is I think that it's kind of a hybrid models where I think it should work, mainly for record keeping sake and for Pro Tour points. Because I think that splitting the cash makes the most sense, right? Like you all got into the playoff. If there's 4 of you, the 3 of you, y'all should split 2nd, 3rd, 4th, because like you're playing to win. So you're not, you don't want it to be like I get 4th place, I get less cash, and all of a sudden you're playing like defense to be like, well, I'm not trying to play to win. I'm trying to secure my 2nd place. That's not the point of the playoff. The playoff is to decide the winner. But if it's like, at Crocal situation and someone gets out early, I don't mind with them getting 3rd place on there, third place points, but then they split second and third when it comes to cash. You know what I'm saying? Or if two people get out on the same hole, they tie there, just so that there is at least a delineation. Because, like, what if Krokol would have went on for 10 more holes, and all of a sudden Jakub Simmerod outplayed Mauri Vilman by a long shot in that playoff, yet record keeping and obviously prize money wise, there's nothing to show there. And so I think prize money, it should sit exactly how it is. But I don't hate the idea of it being Mauri Vilman got third, Jakub gets second, and Ben Callaway gets first. They just split the second and third cash.
Okay, Gary, something tells me you do hate that idea. So let's hear it.
I don't have to say it because I already said it. I don't like this question. Sorry, Shay. I get maybe the theory and intention behind it, but 3 players tied at the end of regulation in the number 1 spot. The playoff is only set to determine who wins the tournament. That's it. Like, that's all we're here for. Do you know why that's all we care about? Because we want players trying to win the event. We don't want one of them in the playoff entertaining the idea of playing conservative to secure solo second. We don't want players trying to avoid getting third. We want everybody going 100% towards the win. So forcing the playoff to determine a non-winning position, I think it just cheapens the moment of the playoff itself. And how are we going to strip a player of the reward from their regulation play just because they decided to get aggressive to win the whole thing? Like, I appreciate the spirit of the question, but it's silly. And I don't like the idea of splitting up tour points either. It's like tour points and cash. If you're in the playoff, that's it. You split what you get. We're going for a winner. We're not trying to determine any other position. I think this is a silly question. It works exactly the way it should right now. And we don't want to ever incentivize players to not play aggressively, to not play for the win. And that's all I got. I am flabbergasted that this question was even put on here.
Oh, get wrecked, Trev.
Flabbergasted. Well, yeah, I mean, I think I do agree in the end, because I think you're right. The disastrous situation that we would all be on this show barking about would be somebody laying up to make sure that they take the second place cash, because in the right tournament, it could be thousands of dollars. So you almost couldn't blame them if the system allowed. If you were to do it, here's how you do it. You get the members of the playoff, and you tell them to close their eyes and hold up a thumbs up if they want to go, if they want to divide the cash. And if all the players hold their thumbs up, like in like some kind of game of werewolf, then you abide by those rules. Perfect.
So if
solution.
only one person holds it up, they get all the money.
They're eliminated.
We're gonna prisoner dilemma all these people.
Yeah, the game will be decided on the T-pad.
Welcome to Mr. Beast Does the Pro Tour.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Well, shout out Shay. We don't shame. Actually, he didn't submit that question to the show. He put it on our mailbag podcast, and I stole it. So, but
Did you not even ask it on the mailbag?
What?
Did you not ask it on the mailbag? Because I'd never heard that question before.
Yeah, I think I read it and then went, "Oh, maybe you weren't on that
Your
episode."
brain probably deleted the question from
it
your
was
mind.
a couple weeks ago. Yeah,
I thought I thought he submitted it to the mailbag. And you're like, no, that's going to debate night.
No,
you're not doing that here.
Well, I may have basically done that. It was 2 weeks ago. You weren't on the show, but I think I read it and then I just remember being like, "Oh my gosh, I need a screenshot like this. Like, this is fascinating." Funny. And we never question shame on this podcast, so make sure to submit more topics.
Except for Gary.
No, we would never.
No, Shay hits a lot. Everyone who hits a lot's allowed to miss on occasion, so he gets a pass on this one. But Shay, you gotta be careful of these questions. Too many of these, and
you were 3 for 4 thinking it was a good question, Shay.
You're on the hot seat. All right, let's move on to our final question topic here, not submitted by Shay. Hunter, you have a lead. Would you like to go first or second?
Great question.
You know what? I'll be the first to do it. Give me second.
Oh man, that's crazy, man.
Why not?
All right,
I'll do it. I'll go second.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant the first to do it as in the first answer.
No, I'll be the first person to do it on the show.
Okay, I don't know that you are the first person.
You're definitely not the first.
I did it to Hunter a long time ago. I regret it very much.
Well, never mind. I want to go first. Take that, Gary.
Oh, mind games.
Take backsies.
I'll go first. I'll go first.
Okay, final question. Which players in MPO and FPO winning tournaments are best for the game? Obviously, we've heard this in other sports. When certain teams or players are winning, it's good for the game. So who's that in disc golf? Is it one player, a group of certain players, or just parity in general? Is it better when not one player is taking all the wins? This obviously would mostly correlate to the growth and popularity of the tour, because what else would it mean? All right, Hunter, fire away.
I think this is interesting in disc golf because I think disc golf is different from a lot of other sports. Golf might be another one that's similar in this, in that if UFC, for instance, if there's like Jake Paul fighting is good for boxing because people are gonna watch because you don't like Jake Paul and you want to see the possibility of him getting beat up, right? Similar things in football or in basketball where like when you don't like a team, a lot of times you're not liking them isn't a big enough reason for you not to watch. Actually, it's a big enough reason for you to tune in. In disc golf, a lot of times the reason people don't like certain players is they don't like watching them play. So I think the tough part there is you can't almost go with the polarizing thing because like Gannon's the one that's currently you hear a lot of people on this, but you know Nico LaCastro has been in this boat before. There's other players that have been in the boat where like if it's a player that takes a long time to play, there are people that are like, if they're in the lead, I don't even want to watch because I don't want to tune in and watch them take 45 seconds. So I think that what's interesting in disc golf is really what's best for the game is the fan favorite player. So not the player team everyone loves to hate, but the fan favorite player in a close match. So this weekend, I think, is the perfect example of that, where you have Paul McBeth, the fan favorite, going against the modern day everyone loves to hate in a close match to a certain extent. And I think that we saw it this week where there are people who haven't watched live disc golf coming out the woodworks on Twitter. Our Discord live tournament chat was popping again. The engagement on the post around Paul winning. So I think what it is the fan favorite players. If Nate Sexton got back into the winner's circle, if Matty O were to win next week, heck, even when Anthony Barella, if you want to go more modern players that kind of everyone agree, they have to be popular enough, because if you have an Emerson Keith win, yeah, that's great. People like it, but it doesn't do anything for the sport. But if you were to have Nate Doss come back out next week and all of a sudden in contention to win, and it's just like a fan favorite, big enough name, draw everyone in, I think that's what's big for the, not necessarily growth of the sport in that getting outside eyeballs in, but growth of the broadcast in the sport in that getting all of the current eyeballs watching at the same time.
Yeah, fair point. The fan favorite, definitely good for the retention we have. Gary, is that kind of what you're thinking as well, or something different?
You know, I would argue that any player winning an event can be great for the game, provided that you know how to create a narrative after the fact. Realistically, in sports, certain moments have always been huge for players, fans, and the sport growth itself. I think about moments like, the Miracle on Ice and what it did for hockey in the United States, or when Jesse Owens did his thing at the 1936 Olympics, and that was a victory for the world. While nothing in disc golf has reached that level of like societal importance, there are things that drive the sport forward. And did the sport as a whole get a humongous win this past season? Yeah, it absolutely did. Seeing Paul McBeth square off and win against Gannon Burr was humongous for a lot of the reasons that Hunter expressed. To me, there are three kind of archetypes that push the narrative when it comes to MPO. And the first is the dominant streak, right? This is when a player runs the field, a Paul McBeth or a Ken Climo, Gannon Burr, like a Kristen Lott, because I think not only is that great to see, but it brings in outside recognition because people are drawn to the spectacle. There's a dominant, perennial talent that is just dominating this sport right now. I kind of want to go see who that is. I want to know what history it is that I'm missing in a sport. Another one is when the old guard or the popular players wins. Paul McBeth, him winning after this cold streak, massive. Ricky's that next one on the block who could do it. If Paige Pierce wins, arguably that's a huge thing for the sport internally. And then you have underdog wins, like a Greg Barsby at Worlds winning, I think is a really cool thing because it lets people latch on to a character, someone who's very likable, like Greg Barsby winning the whole thing. For FPO, I'll address that. Also, I think anyone winning an FPO right now is great for FPO and the sport as a whole because it's showcasing that there is a growing field in FPO, a place for more players to come into and want to play and be a part of the growth of the game. And not seeing it dominated by one person allows more people to grow. And we're seeing that, as the FPO continues to get stronger, both internationally and here in the United States.
Yeah, I agree with both your points. I think they kind of touch on different things. I think Hunter's right in the sense that the fan favorite, if a Simon Lizotte or Paul McBeth is winning right now, it is the best for making sure all of the eyeballs we have, or as many as we can, are on the sport. But I do agree with you, Gary. I think that the best possible solution for outside growth is somebody just kicking everybody's butt every week, especially if that is an up-and-coming player. I think a great example that hits home for me is like, I don't know the first thing about darts, but when this Luke Littler kid, I think that's his name, he's like 17, 18 years old and was like dominating everybody. I started hearing about him and I was drawn to that because I was like, oh, wow, look at this kid who's like kicking everybody's butt in darts. Like that's a fun time. So I do think that dominance is really the thing that actually breaks outside of the mold. But I think both of you, make your points correctly there. It's an interesting one. Comment down below on that. What do you think is best right now for the sport of disc golf? Who should be winning tournaments? Because it's hard to disagree that the Paul win, it was exciting, but does that grow the sport, or does it just kind of bring in the eyeballs we have? Who would be winning to really push us forward? Who knows? But Hunter, you're a victor today. Maybe the dark webcam scene is for you.
Might be. I will say, I think that the one thing disc golf hasn't had yet, at least in my time of watching, is a player that is disliked for how they are handled off the course that is dominant. I think that could be something, because like if you look at like when the New England Patriots were dominant, right? People couldn't stand the Patriots. They couldn't stand Tom Brady, and they didn't like the fans. But a lot of times it wasn't necessarily how they played the game. Deflategate was. But anyways, it wasn't necessarily like, oh, they took way too long pre-snap or like little nitty-gritty stuff, right? It wasn't that. It was how they carried themselves and how their fan base carried themselves, which made it really good for football because everyone was watching to root against one team. So they were unified against.
Yeah.
Whereas in disc golf, we haven't necessarily had everyone rooting against someone unless it's, like I said, the player takes too long or they're too nitpicky on calling people or whatever, versus if it's someone who like plays the game how it should be played, whatever, but they're just trash talking left and right, big celebrating putts, stuff like that, where it's like everyone just can't stand to watch the person, but not how the game doesn't turn them off. I think that could be an interesting one for disc golf.
You said a very key thing too, where I think a lot of times fans' perception of teams are based off of the fan bases almost more than they are the actual team themselves. Think about like Golden State Warriors. There was nothing really that unlikable about Golden State. You could argue Draymond, right? But Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, very likable players, but the fan base and the bandwagon nature, that's what got people very riled up about it. There's been a lot of sports teams that have created that atmosphere. And I don't think it happens as much as just in disc golf. Like right now, the closest thing you have to that is probably AB. If AB were super, super dominant right now, he does have a really young, like big following that would probably only amplify it. Maybe there'd be some people who would be a little turned off by that. Like I don't really like this army of fans surrounding him, but
I don't know.
It's tougher to happen in a non-team sport for sure.
I don't know if disc golf's big enough for it to happen per se, because I think the best example would be, and maybe it's just because it was Simon that it was impossible to happen, but like MVP is the closest thing. They really discraft when Paul went
to like a fan base,
to a bandwagon fan base.
Right. Totally.
Right.
Totally agree.
But what we see is like, there's not a hatred towards MVP. It's the exact opposite, where there's like a I've got to try this new thing out. But I think that would be the only thing is like if a player, like maybe if Paul switched to Discraft in like 2013 in the middle of his dominance, you know what I mean? Maybe that could have happened then if it was like, but since he switched like pre-COVID and then the COVID boom happened and Discraft was just like, it was the popular thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of that hasn't happened.
You just have to wait for money to get involved.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see how this affects Gannon, because Gannon is starting to be a bit more, I would say, vocal about things, coming out and, name dropping someone who didn't have time violations called against them and appearing on a podcast and saying, it feels like everyone wanted that person to win and not me. I wonder, getting excited on hole 18, he had that huge like celebration he did after he threw that shot. We got the let's go G's. I wonder, are we going to start to see that
more
like
polarizing? No doubt.
We need Ken Climo back. We were just watching a like documentary where Climo was answering questions, and like the dude just had a swagger about him we haven't seen.
He did, man. He really did.
Like,
it helps when you win 12 world titles, man.
He said something along the lines of like, everyone else is like has a target on my back, but at the end, like something about like, you can have a target on another player's back all you want, but at the end of the day, you got to beat the course, and that's all I'm focused on. And it's like, that's baller right there.
Yeah,
you're not locked in this division. I'm not locked in this division with you. You're locked in this division with me.
I'm beating the course.
Yeah, I think he two things have to happen. You have to be kind of like the Gannon Burr situation, right? Where you're so dominant that you can pretty much just say whatever you want and people just have to deal with it because you're proving it week in, week out. Or you have to have a lot of money to where you don't care what people have to say. And right now, there's very few people on tour like that. And even like some of the top players, I think me and Gary, we're going to try to get some guys on the podcast in the next couple of weeks to kind of just break down the financials. Cause I think sometimes right now, like there's a lot of people that just think everyone on tour is doing really well. I don't think so.
No, and you got to be likable to have a brand and make money. That's
and so I think there's just a lot of people that bite their tongue or try not to ruffle any feathers because they're trying to survive.
You've got to get because I don't know if players would be willing to do this, but like surely someone would anonymously like send you
like a budget
like this is what I make per month, this is what I spend
I
per
think
month.
Andrew Fish did that already.
He did, but he was never a full-time touring professional.
I'm saying like a top 20 guy.
Yeah, a guy that you would think is like a staple on tour, and this name means absolutely nothing. I'm not like, but like an Evan Smith, right? A guy who's a good disc golfer. He's touring full time, but he's not the best of the best with the big contract. Like, what does it look like for a guy like that?
Yeah,
that'd be the most interesting to me.
Obviously, you don't want to get on there and say like my sponsor pays me, blah blah blah. But
I don't know if we can get that.
I don't know if we can get that. Send it to you.
But I think we can get some people to come on and talk about how much they spend.
Yeah,
I don't think we're gonna be able to have people walk away being like, this year I made $2,500, but I think we can get some people to be like, I spent $25,000 this year.
It's like an anonymous budget, but it just shows all their cash, and we just know when the tournaments were.
No, I'm saying it'd be fascinating to get someone just to like send it anonymously for like a month, and you don't say what month it is. So to Trevor's point, you can't track it, but it's like my sponsor paid me X, my signature disc paid me X, I did X on Whatnot, I did X vending, I cashed X, I door dashed X, and it cost me X a tour.
Well, if anyone's listening,
there's no way that
anonymously
the sponsor would know who that is based on how much.
They might. I don't know. I just would be fascinated, like how many guys are like, I had $10,000 to burn through, and I think that I can make that last like 2 years.
Yeah,
like, I can just barely lose a few $1,000s a year to tour.
I don't really get into too many financial talks with the people on the tour, but being around them, I think there's two classes of people. Well, I guess there's three classes of people. There's the people that are making enough on tour through their sponsors or their finishing places. Then there's the people that make enough in the off season to then be able to, get by during the season. And then there's the people that just have someone backing them, their family member, parents, something like that. I think those are like the three. And I think the two at the bottom heavily outweigh the ones that are making
actually
enough,
surviving.
Yeah, making enough money just playing disc golf.
And we've seen some players get really creative this year in terms of trying to make money. I think we're going to look back on 2025 and ask ourselves, what did Whatnot do for touring pros who were willing to jump on there and make that part of their thing? And there are a couple on there that, like, when we talk about who we're looking to bring on, who have made that part of their identity, and I think are going really well. I'm curious to see what that effect has been on other players around them as they get more and more people involved.
Speaking of Whatnot, tomorrow night.
Yeah, join the Whatnot tomorrow night.
Connor's got some discs that are from the video a while ago in there, so you're not going to miss it.
Bit of a tangent, but anywho, we'll wrap up the show. If you want to submit topics for next week's episode, you can scan this QR code here on the screen. Make sure to go ahead and do that. Throw some topics in there. We'd love to discuss them. We'll see you next week.